California Zephyr was a train in a travel mode that was one of a kind. It provided scenery, comfort, and high-class service.
No, there's just no question that the combination of the scenery and the equipment made it the flagship train of the West.
The California Zephyr was like a silver thread that linked people together across the country.
The California Zephyr, when I took it, probably was a spiritual venture.
The California Zephyr was the grand hotel on wheels.
Well, I think of the California Zephyr in the phrase of another writer who coined the name the Silver Lady, which implies the gracefulness of the train.
Years ago, a cross-country rail trip brought excitement. The anticipation of the trip meant dressing up in your best clothes, sleeping in a Pullman car, enjoying meals in the dining car, making new friends along the way. But best of all, it was viewing America at eye level. As you waited patiently to board your train, the station's public announcement system crackled to life, echoing destinations. Ottumwa, Omaha,
Lincoln, Denver, Glenwood Springs,
Grand Junction, Salt Lake City, Sacramento,
Oakland, and San Francisco.
All aboard!
The journey was about to begin. This was no commuter or a steam haul train. It was an all-silver stainless steel special train with car names Silver Aspen, Silver Banquet, Silver Lariat, and Silver Solarium, to name a few. This was the Vista Dome California Zephyr, where you can look up, look down, look all around, as early magazine ads proclaimed. The California Zephyr traces its roots back to 1934, when the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad placed its Pioneer Zephyr in service. This was America's first diesel-powered streamlined train. The combination of diesel power and durable, lightweight car construction paved the way to faster schedules and established the groundwork for future Zephyrs to ply the rails. A major marketing feature of the California Zephyr was the 5 dome cars for each of the 6 sets of equipment. General Motors executive Cy Osborne was struck by the full view of Glenwood Canyon from the cab of a diesel locomotive in July of 1944. Osborne wished passengers could somehow have the same view as the engineer. Ralph Budd, president of the Burlington, ordered his railroad's Aurora shops to rebuild a stainless steel coach into a dome car. This first dome car entered service a year later in July of 1945. The rebuilt car was called Silver Dome. For years, a monument to the dome car stood on the spot in Glenwood Canyon where Osborne was struck with the dome car idea while riding the Denver and Rio Grande Western. It's now preserved at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado. While railroads were challenged to transport so many passengers during World War II, many passenger carriers were planning post-war streamliners. In 1946, the Père Marquette Railroad introduced the first all-new post-war streamliner. General Motors' Train of Tomorrow debuted in 1947, touring the United States and making appearances at the Chicago Railroad Fair in 1948 and 1949. Union Pacific purchased this unique train and placed it in service between Portland and Seattle. Other famous trains were re-equipped during the late 1940s. After the Empire Builder in 1947, came new equipment for the 20th Century Limited, Super Chief, Texas Special. The Broadway Limited followed in 1948. The next year, the Crescent, Silver Meteor, and Shasta Daylight joined the ranks of re-equipped trains. The first dome car to be placed in regular service ran between Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska on Burlington's Cakufirbua Zephyr. But America's most talked about train was still to come. On October 16, 1945, chief executives of the Burlington, Rio Grande, and Western Pacific Railroads completed an agreement to share proportionately by mileage the expense of building a new streamliner to operate over the route of the Exposition Flyer, which operated between Chicago, Illinois, and Oakland, California.
In 1939, San Francisco had an exposition called the Golden Gate International Exposition, which was built on what is now Treasure Island. And the three railroads decided that this was a good opportunity to run a through train, and they ran a train which they called the Exposition Flyer. After World War II, the Exposition Flyer lasted all through the war. After World War II, Western Pacific was reluctant as to whether they wanted to stay in the passenger business because they were the underdog. Southern Pacific and Santa Fe had the majority of the business. But Burlington came out with the Vista Dome. The Rio Grande was still heavy into passenger business, and they, you might say, coerced Western Pacific. General Motors was active at the time. They had come forth with Cy Osborne coming out and pushing the train of tomorrow, which had what was called an Astrodome. The Vista Dome was a result of the Astrodome. So Western Pacific was asked by the two partner railroads, and there had to be an economic reason also, that the three were heavily involved as a through freight route, too.
All the railroads were cash rich after World War II with the finances that had come in during those years. And it was a last-ditch effort by many railroads, including the three mentioned, to attempt to recapture passenger business, which had been lost in the interim. And it was conceived, I would say, in the period about from 1946 on to the time when it actually came into being in 1949.
Although the California Zephyr was a new train, the three operating railroads had paved the way over the same route some years ago. Mike Davis explains.
Well, they had previously operated a train called the Exposition Flyer, which was made up of modernized heavyweight equipment. And that was put on after completion of the Moffat Tunnel, which cut 175 miles off the route and made the route really competitive with the UPSP.
The reasons for three railroads operating the train were the continuity of the route, each railroad operating over its own trackage, and which provided the route from between Chicago and Oakland.